If you go on this ride, you will die. This here is the euthanasia roller coaster, and if you ride this, you will die. This roller coaster was designed for roller coaster lovers who did not have much longer left. For example, people with long-term health conditions. It would mean these people would die peacefully doing something they love. You might be asking yourself, how does this work? Well, it's down to G-force. Around 7 Gs, your face will look like this. But this roller coaster pulls 10 Gs and humans can only survive 7.5. The loops on this roller coaster slowly get tighter and tighter, which will cause more force to you. And due to all of this force, your eyes will go back and you will slowly fall to sleep. This is a peaceful death for people that love roller coasters and do not have much life left. But the question is, if this roller coaster was ever invented, would you want to go out like that?
Celebrities autopsies. Kobe Bryant.
They never bother me. I feel happy and fine, living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time.
Kurt
Haven't got a
Cobain.
lot, I don't need a lot. Coffee's only a dime.
Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time.
This is a bittersweet case. On February 1986, 29-year-old Detective Stephanie Lazarus broke into her ex-boyfriend's house and murdered his wife Sherry Rasmussen in a fit of rage and jealousy. Stephanie successfully got away with murder for 23 years due to connections with the Los Angeles Police Department. Despite there being evidence against her, she was barely questioned. The crime was initially deemed to be a robbery gone wrong, but Sherry's family was convinced that Stephanie was involved since she was jealous that Sherry and John were happily married. When John returned home from work that evening, Sherry was found shot multiple times in the chest. Reports show that Stephanie had threatened Sherry at her workplace, stating, "If I can't have John, then nobody else will." In the meantime, Stephanie went on to start her own private investigation firm, and the case went cold. But 23 years later, on February 2009, a cold case detective squad decided to reinvestigate the case, and that's when they discovered that DNA was obtained from a bite mark on Sherry's body. And of course, that bite mark was a perfect match to Stephanie Lazarus. On March 8, 2012, Stephanie was convicted and sentenced to 27 years to life in prison and will be eligible for parole in 2039.
I'm gonna ruin your childhood, part 17. Did you ever play Ring Around the Rosies as a kid? Well, that game isn't so fun and innocent. Ring Around the Rosies was actually based off the plague. Pockets full of posies referred to roses in your pockets, which would hide the smell of decomposing bodies. Ashes at ashes referred to cremated bodies, which are spread around town. And We All Fall Down meant death to everyone who got the plague.
Wallahi, if you love Allah, do not skip this video. On the day of judgment, Allah's gonna pick one specific group of people and enter them straight into Jannah. All of your sins will be forgiven. You'll have no punishment, no questions, nothing scary, and you will go straight to Jannah. I'm gonna teach you the special dua, so you will definitely be a part of that group. Madam lo ami, so it counts for you. Tag 3 of your friends you want to save and share this. Allahumma hasibni hisaban yasira. Share this everywhere, and inshallah, I'll see you in Jannah.
A road rage shooting happened in Nevada that killed an 11-year-old, and the other driver was so unremorseful about it. This is the culprit. He literally said, I shot at him. I didn't know he had a kid in the car. Point blank, just like that. Road rage is really never that serious, and because of this, now this little kid is dead. I'm not going to play the body cam footage for you guys. It actually made me really, really sad seeing that. The father was just bawling his eyes out. The cops weren't even comforting him at all. And then this guy just admitted to the cops that he shot the kid and had no idea, he had a kid in the car. It was the slowest arrest ever made. Yeah, they put him in handcuffs and arrested him, but there was no urgency in the situation for a guy that just shot and killed a kid. Now, apparently the two men were kind of trying to get the lane. They were kind of going in and out and stuff like that. The 22-year-old that I showed you before, this guy just decided to get really mad and start shooting at the other guy. I don't even know if the cops would have arrested this guy if he didn't even say it was 100% his fault and then he killed the kid. Also, what is up with all these road rage incidents nowadays? You can't even honk at somebody without them road raging and trying to shoot you. I think we need to limit the amount of licenses going out because obviously not everyone deserves to have a license. They should honestly have a temperament test on top of the driving and licensing test. Now, me personally, I think we don't need any people with anger management issues on the road because stuff like this happens.
All Muslims, if you're a chill guy, you will be banned from Jahannam hellfire. Prophet ﷺ told us that whoever's easygoing and kind, basically a chill guy, they will be banned from Jahannam hellfire. So it's basically sunnah to be a chill guy. Just be a chill guy like me and my guy. Genesis better awareness now.
This person secretly recorded life inside North Korea.
This teacher made cupcakes with her husband's bodily fluids and then served them to her students. Cynthia Perkins was a middle school English teacher in Livingston Parish, Louisiana. She coached softball, helped with school events, and was known as the nice teacher. Her husband, Dennis Perkins, was a sheriff's lieutenant with over 20 years in law enforcement, worked SWAT, and supervised other deputies. They were seen as a respectable, normal couple, but behind closed doors, they lived a secret, disturbing lifestyle for years. Between 2014 to 2017, Cynthia and Dennis were involved in escalating illegal behavior that would start with inappropriate photos that would later involve minors. And Cynthia was not being controlled by Dennis, she was fully participating in this. And it just gets worse from here. Sometime between 2017 to 2018, Cynthia made cupcakes for her students, and she allegedly used her husband's bodily fluids and mixed it into the batter on purpose. She then took those cupcakes to the school and served them to her students, and sadly, no one would know what was really inside those cupcakes until much later. But Cynthia and Dennis weren't caught because of the cupcakes. In 2018 to 2019, Dennis was under investigation for unrelated misconduct in the sheriff's office. During that search, investigators took his electronic devices, and what they found had nothing to do with the original complaint. They found illegal material involving minors, and Cynthia was in many of those files. The FBI and state police were brought in, and as they were digging deeper, they realized that Cynthia and Dennis were both connected to multiple crimes. On October 23rd of 2019, Cynthia and Dennis were arrested and hit with more than 150 combined charges. In February of 2022, Cynthia agreed to a plea deal, and she pled guilty to second-degree SA and many other charges that had to do with minors. All other charges were dropped in exchange for testifying against Dennis. Cynthia was sentenced to 41 years in prison without parole, and Dennis was sentenced to 100.
Let's see if you have trypophobia. I'm going to show you 5 photos. If you feel too uncomfortable to make it to the 5th photo, then you could have trypophobia. So let's go. Number 1. And how about this? Feeling uncomfortable yet? Nearly there. Last one. So let me know whether or not you have trypophobia in the comments down below.
Youngest parents in world. Jordan Williams and Tia John. She gave birth when she was 14 years old. Tressa Middleton. She gave birth when she was 12 years old. April Webster and Nathan Fishburne. She gave birth when she was 13 years old. Chantal Stedman and Alfie Patton. She gave birth when she was 13 years old. Kordesa Zhelyazkova and Zhelyasko Kimitrov. She gave birth when she was 11 years old. Alessia Gregson. She gave birth when she was 12 years old.
Let's talk about one of the scariest videos out on the internet right now, where we see a man literally plunge to his death off a mountain. On September 25th, the 31-year-old Mr. Hong, along with a group, are hiking Nama Peak in Sichuan, China. In case you're curious, Nama Peak is around like 18,000 foot tall. So Mr. Hong makes it to a certain point with this group, and he decides to unhook himself from the safety rope. When he does, he slips and falls. He was doing this to try and take some selfies, and that is him you see sliding down this mountain. Once he starts sliding, there's really nothing anyone else can do, because if they were to try to go after him, they'd risk themselves dying or more people in the group dying if they tried to, because it's just sliding off. The people are forced to just watch in horror as he slides down and falls 600 feet down and hits onto rocky terrain. This is to say that he slipped and fell over the metal spikes that are attached to the boots that make it easier to walk in the ice or keep you from slipping. Emergency services rushed to the scene, but by the time they got there, it was too late and Mr. Hong was pronounced dead. Relative of his revealed that it was Mr. Hong's first time climbing and visiting the mountain. But yeah, that's super scary. Let's talk about one of the scariest videos out on the internet. Today we're talking about the video where a bride was sadly shot on her wedding day. Here we have the beautiful bride, a 39-year-old Gladys Reichert, on September 26 of 1999. She's in her home in Ridgefield, New Jersey, and she's getting ready for her wedding day. She's hanging out with friends and family. You can see this video here being taken by the wedding photographer. He's getting married to James Preston Jr., and while all this was happening, he was over at a church in Queens, New York, waiting for his bride to arrive. And then the moment when disaster strikes, her ex-boyfriend Augustine Garcia walks in and shoots her 3 times. He shot Gladys 3 times, once in the head, upper arm, and her spine. Her brother tackled Augustine and held him at gunpoint until the police came. So Augustine and Gladys had dated for like 7 years, and Gladys discovered that Augustine was cheating on her with her best friend, so she called it off. She broke up with him, and then he handled it awfully, as you can tell. Gladys moved on, and Augustine could not move on. He stalked Gladys for weeks and weeks, and pretty much had the mindset, if he couldn't have Gladys, no one could. I can't even imagine how awful it would be for her family, her friends, and also her soon-to-be husband, who's waiting in the church for his bride to get there and then find out that she's now been shot and is dead. Augustine was sentenced to life in prison with a chance of parole after 31 years and 4 months. Gladys was buried in her wedding dress, and I hope she's resting in peace, because what happened to her is super scary.
Devils from different countries. Mexico. La Llorona, UK, Bloody Mary, Canada, Wendigo, Australia, Bunyip, Thailand, Maynak, South Korea, Wizen, India, Boot, Japan, Kuchisakiana, Philippines, Manananggal.
Imagine you go to pick up your 5-year-old from a play date, but when you go to the mom's house, he's not there. It's just this woman that you've never seen before, and she says she has no idea what you're talking about. Now, maybe it's just a misunderstanding, but when you go to dial the phone number of the mom who set up the play date, the phone number is disconnected. That's the premise of the new Peacock show, All Her Fault, that just came out, and I like it so much more than I thought I would. What I really like is that the show gets into who is at fault when a child goes missing, and based on the title of the show, All Her Fault, the mom is usually the one that gets blamed for everything. It's twisty, it's fun, it's also soapier than it is scary, so if you're worried about watching it as a parent, I would say you don't have to be.
Do you know there's only one country that has ever attacked America without the US striking them back? It happened to a US Navy spy ship called the USS Liberty that was gathering intel off the coast of Egypt during the Six-Day War in 1967, when all of a sudden, fighter jets from an allied country flew overhead and thought the USS Liberty was an enemy ship, so they started attacking it, raining down a full barrage of gunfire, missiles, and napalm for over 3 hours. Nearby military boats from the same allied country joined in and started firing torpedoes. The attack resulted in 170 injuries and over 30 deaths of American soldiers. The ship took an absolute beating, and they even targeted their communication antennas so the ship couldn't send out a distress signal for help and support, but they were able to stay afloat for just long enough to radio in for backup, who arrived on time and settled everything down. Later on, the US government told everyone aboard the USS Liberty that it was all a big misunderstanding by the allied planes who started it, but the crew on the ship didn't buy it, who all insist it was a deliberate attack, that the jets intended to hit the ship knowingly. Yet the US never issued a retaliation strike or even reprimanded the country in any way, sticking with its friendly fire, oopsie, just an accident story. The allied country too, of course, insisted it was a mistake, thinking that the USS Liberty was an Egyptian ship who they were at war with at the time, even though the ship was clearly marked with large American flags visible from the air. And we can all assume this country's intelligence was reliable enough to let the jet pilots know it was a US ship they were engaging with for over 3 hours. And the country behind this totally accidental attack was Israel.
Pokemon that actually exist in real life. Pikachu. Pika Mouse. Drowsy. Tapir. Emolga. Flying squirrel. Megacarp. Yellow eye rockfish. Bullywag. Polywog. Caterpie. Caterpillar.
Here's the truth behind Ariana Grande. One day, she was approached by 3 brothers who asked to take a photo with her. So she took the photo and then gave them advice on how to make it in the music industry. Those 3 boys took her advice and worked hard every single day. And you won't believe who they grew up to be. Before I continue, I just found an app that allows you to make a baby with literally anyone. Press the link in my bio if you want to make a baby too. Those boys grew up to be the Jonas Brothers.
Disturbing facts about Ed Gein you may or may not know. Ed was born in 1906 and lived most of his life in Plainfield, Wisconsin, on a farm with his alcoholic, abusive dad and his insanely religious mom, who instilled the belief in him that both women and sex were evil, and she really kept him isolated from the outside world, giving him very little to no outside contact. His dad died in 1940, his older brother Henry died in 1944 due to mysterious circumstances involving a fire, and then his mom died in 1945, leaving him alone on the farm. After his mom's death, Ed started digging up women who resembled his mom and would bring them back to his house and make various things out of their corpses. Some of the things he made included human skull bowls. He had chairs upholstered with human skin, a human skin lampshade, and a woman's suit made from skin. They found Bernice Worden, one of his victims' head, inside of his house. They also found the preserved remains of 15 women inside. He crafted several face masks from peeling away the skin off of these skulls. They also found things like noses and lips just around the house. He was only convicted of taking the life of one person, and that was of hardware store owner Bernice Worden, whose head was found at his house, and then the rest of her body was found hanging upside down in the shed. But Ed also confessed to taking the life of Mary Hogan, a tavern store owner, in 1954. Crimes inspired multiple characters and films such as Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs, Leatherface, and Norman Bates in Psycho. He passed away at a mental health institute in Madison on July 26, 1984 at the age of 77 from respiratory failure. No way, shape, or form can I imagine walking into that house and smelling it and seeing it. It would be so scary.
Get ready with me while I tell you why you should never answer the door at night, especially if it sounds like a child. There's a real urban legend about kids that people call the black-eyed children. They only appear after dark, and it's usually between 1 to 4 a.m. And they always come in pairs, always two. People say they look normal from far away. They're just pale kids in oversized hoodies standing completely still. But when you get close enough to really see them, their eyes are solid black. No whites, no pupils, just solid black. People always describe their skin as off. It's too smooth, too pale. It's like they're trying to mimic a child but didn't get the details right. And the closer they stand next to you, the colder the air feels around them. When they come to your door, they knock, wait a bit, then knock again. It's like they already know that you are awake. And they speak with no emotion, no fear, no urgency. Just a flat voice saying that they need help, and they'll say things like, "We need to come inside," or "Our parents will be here soon." But no matter what you do, they cannot enter your home unless you invite them in. They'll never step forward, they'll never force their way in, they will just stand there waiting. One woman said she opened her door just a few inches just to see if they were lost. One of the kids slowly looked up at her and said, "We can't come in unless you say we can." She said the air behind them felt wrong, like there was something bigger standing behind them. She slammed the door and then went to look through the peephole, but they weren't on the porch anymore. They were standing in her yard, completely still, facing her house. So she backed away from the door and her phone started buzzing. It was a text from an unknown number and it said, "Why didn't you let us in?" After that day, she never saw those kids again, but every now and then at that exact same time, she will still hear soft knocking. So make sure to think twice before opening your front door because you never know who you're inviting in.
Here's everything you missed in pop culture this past weekend. Marvel star Jeremy Renner is under fire after there were accusations made against him saying that he threatened to call ICE and immigration on his filmmaking partner Yi Zhou. Filmmaker Yi Zhou has claimed that Jeremy Renner sent her inappropriate and unsolicited images over text and that they engaged in a relationship via text and call. Yi went on to state that her and Jeremy Renner had a first physical encounter that was not consensual, but every interaction after that was. Yi actually posted photos of the interactions and the images on Instagram, including the one that says where he will threaten to call immigration, as well as the unsolicited pictures and then the messages you can pause to read. A representative for Jeremy Renner responded saying the accusations being made by this individual are totally inaccurate and untrue, and Renner's team sent Yi Zhou a cease and desist to stop, and I quote, salacious lies. Shortly after Kim Kardashian revealed to everyone that she uses ChatGPT to help her with her law exam questions, she announced that she failed the California bar exam. In a new post, Kim stated, well, I'm not a lawyer yet, I just play a very well-dressed one on TV. 6 years into this law journey, and I'm still all in until I pass the bar. No shortcuts, no giving up, just more studying and even more determination. Maybe no ChatGPT? Thank you to everyone who has supported and encouraged me along the way so far. Falling short isn't failure, it's fuel. I was so close to passing the exam, and that only motivates me even more. Let's go. You know what? I hope she one day does pass it. A video from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony red carpet is going viral after a red carpet attendant had to warn photographers that Chapel Roan was about to walk the carpet. Take a look.
Okay, Chapel's coming. No one will yell at her or she will be nice and quiet. Everyone be quiet, be nice, smiling.
And you know what? Based on the response and the laughter from the photographers in the background, I'm so glad they said something because they definitely were going to disrespect her. During the Vanity Fair lie detector test, Jennifer Lawrence revealed to Robert Pattinson that she thinks Kourtney Kardashian is more annoying than ever. Take a look.
Is this woman your favorite Kardashian?
Yes. Kourtney is more annoying than ever.
Why?
She's drives me nuts.
Why? Who?
Because everything has to be an announcement. It's like, you know, I'm not going to wear outfits anymore. Like, just wear whatever you want. Don't make an announcement about it. Or like, I don't have a TV in my room. Like, just don't watch TV. Stop announcing it. Just shh.
Before I continue, if you like these pop culture recaps, make sure to follow me for more. Michael Jackson has become the first artist in history to chart inside the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100 in 6 distinct decades. Michael Jackson has charted in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 10s, and now the 20s, with Thriller re-entering the charts at number 10. A huge win for the LGBTQ community, with the Supreme Court stating that it will not reconsider its landmark ruling rejecting efforts to overturn same-sex marriage in the United States. Thank God. Tate McRae has announced that she will be releasing a So Close to What deluxe album on November 21st. Love Island Beyond the Villa has been renewed for a season 2 with returning cast members from season 7 of Love Island USA. Joining the season 2 cast will be winners Amaya and Brian, Andrina, Beldasha, Bella, Chris, Clark, Coco, Grayson, Hannah, Iris, Jeremiah, Pepe, Taylor, and TJ. Notably not on the list and not joining the cast for season 2 are Nick and Olandria, Ace and Shelley, and Huda. The teaser trailer for the Michael Jackson biopic titled Michael, starring Jafar Jackson, received 116.2 million views in its first 24 hours worldwide. This makes it the most viewed trailer for any music biopic in history. And lastly, Ariana Grande revealed to Entertainment Tonight the real reason why she dyed her hair back to brown. She stated, "It's fun to play with the storytelling on a press tour. With the first press tour, I kind of wanted to celebrate Glinda in a more on-the-nose way. And now I can kind of show up as the actress that played her and play into the darker tones of the movie. And you know what? I've missed the brown."
Only 3 people have ever died in space, and it was one of the worst deaths imaginable. Viewer discretion is advised. This story happened in 1971. The Russian Soyuz 11 was going to be the first crewed mission that would be docking with the world's first space station, which was the Salyut 1. These were the 3 individuals on that mission: the commander, Georgy Dobrovolsky, flight engineer Vladislav Volkov, and the research engineer Viktor Patsayev. The launch, for the most part, went according to plan. They docked with the Salyut 1 on June 7th, 1971. and they left the station on June 29th, 1971. On June 29th, 1971, they would begin their re-entry back into Earth. However, before they reached Earth, while they were still in space, something absolutely horrific happened. Later attributed to a faulty pressure equalization valve, something occurred which caused the vessel to depressurize instantly. And this would have an absolutely catastrophic and horrifically painful moment for these three men. They were not wearing their full spacesuits, so when this occurred, there really was nothing they could do, because everything happened super fast. Oxygen began to leak out of their bloodstream. The oxygen leaving their lungs and their bloodstream, which would cause them to start having to breathe heavier, but every deeper breath they took made it significantly worse. Because your instinct is going to be to, try to breathe, because they were losing the ability to do so. Nitrogen bubbles would form in their blood, which would then burst, almost causing their blood to boil. Blood vessels in their eyes and their ears would burst and rupture. This would eventually cause blood to pour out of their ears and their nose as well, and they would have lost the ability to hear what was happening around them. Within a few seconds, their vision either became blurry or almost non-existent. For about 20 to 40 seconds, this would have been, it was quick, but it was also not quick, because for that 20 to 40 seconds, they are going through excruciating hell. It's painful. They can't breathe. Their blood is essentially boiling. Blood vessels are bursting in their head. They believe at about 40 seconds or so is when their hearts would have stopped beating. And within 60 seconds of the initial incident taking place, they would have been dead. They likely lost consciousness around that 40-second mark. And I know 40 seconds doesn't sound like a super long time, but for them, it probably felt like the longest time ever. The capsule would then land in its designated area, and there was no damage to it. They would all excitedly arrive because they were expecting to greet their fellow astronauts and congratulate them. Instead, they're pulling 3 bodies out. They desperately try to resuscitate them, but it doesn't work. They had blue spots all over their skin. They had blood coming out of their ears, their eyes, their nose, their mouth. It was just a horrific tragedy. An accident, faulty equipment. Depressurization deaths, while they are relatively quick, I would still never wish that upon anyone. Because even in that little brief time of consciousness, it has to be absolutely horrible.